Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday night. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as Maureen says. We're here with Asea 5. We will excuse Dr. Maureen. She's a little bit under the weather today, and ask that we just carry the load in her behalf. We don't have the same stand-up quality, comic quality that she does, but that's okay. We'll make do in a pinch. We have a wonderful program tonight, and I'm joined with my co-host, Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas. My name is Lee Osler. I'm in Richland, Washington. And we have with us the wonderful, illustrious Dr. Carmen Keith, who is a Harvard, a Boston graduate, and triple board certified. And so we're going to welcome her on. She's been on several times before, and we appreciate her insight. She's got a wonderful story in her family, as well as with many of her friends, families, and patients. And so, Carmen, welcome. Come on board and say your piece. Let us know there's going to be many people who haven't, met you yet. So perhaps you could give a brief summary of kind of who you are. What's your story?
Thanks, you guys. Yeah,
hey, Jim, real quick, Carmen, I'm going to shut down the chat so that it doesn't block anybody's view, and then we'll turn it back on right towards the close. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carmen.
Right. Real quick. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Miss Shirley. I'm glad to see you guys are here. So I love to be on here, you guys. It's such a treat, and I look forward to it it seems like we do this every about 6 weeks. So I'm Carmen Keith. I guess from the beginning we go. I was called to be a doctor when I was 7. I knew this was going to be my path. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I came from a small family in Arkansas, Searcy to be exact, and I just took advantage of opportunities that were blessed in my path, and here we are today. I did have a personal challenge after my twins were born that led me to try to find alternatives for my improvement. And I found functional medicine at that point. And it turned from really a hobby and a way of self-healing to now it's what I do. And in that trajectory, my favorite phrase, when Asea hit my trajectory of life, it was it was 2019, and I won't tell my dad's story quite yet, but I will tell you that I'll never be without Asea. I will be without a lot of things before I will be without my Asea.
That's right. That's great.
Real quick, explain what a functional doctor is in case folks don't know what that term means. From a traditional doctor, which is what you were doing, to a functional doctor. What's the difference?
Yeah, so I'm a traditional doctor through and through, always will be. I just explain it like this. I got additional knowledge. I just went and decided that there were some blind spots, if you will, of my training. And I wanted to fill those in. Namely, it was nutrition and it was supplements or vitamins. In traditional medical training, we are given very little training. I think Maureen got more than I did. And it was literally like maybe one hour class about supplements. And it was really, the tone was, these don't really matter. It's just alphabet soup. You live in the USA. There's no way that we are deficient in vitamins. We have everything we need. It was very not great. And so we were never taught that, we were never taught about vitamins, much less that vitamins came from food, much less that food, because of the vitamins, were healing potential to our bodies. It just wasn't ever spoken, not in the allopathic pathway, which is what I was down. And so functional medicine is a way that we attempt to get to the root cause of issues. Now, I will just say it's easier said than done in some instances, but we do testing on the gut, we do other testing, and we interpret them from a little bit of a different angle. And we also interpret them with the whole body in mind. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. And so an effort to dive a little bit deeper rather than just staying on that surface, like the glacier picture, 90% is really under the water. That little surface glacier is just your symptoms, but diving deep and looking into the caves, if you will, underneath is really where we start to find where people can improve either with supplementation or diet and lifestyle changes to improve their overall health. It's very rewarding.
Yeah. Don't you find that, at least what I've heard from people is when they're at a doctor appointment, they get recommended this, that, and the other, and they stop at, they don't even give nutrition as a possibility or any alternative other than the couple things they're maybe taught in med school. Do you find that is unfortunately many of the cases for people that I know for Jim, that wasn't something his doctor offered?
Well, how big of a problem is it, Carmen, the nutrition in this country, if not in the world? How big of a problem is it? What?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. We eat the standard American diet. We call it the SAD diet, and full of trans fats, full of just pro-inflammatory foods, full of gluten. Gluten in itself, of course, is not a bad thing. It's just that the way that our wheat has been modified, it overexpresses that protein, and then that causes havoc on our guts. And so, yeah, it's a big problem. We live in the world of convenience, have it now, have it our way. And unfortunately, also the way that our soil has been used and abused, it doesn't produce as nutritious of fruits and vegetables as it has. There's some studies on that, even that it's 40 to 50% even less in the nutrition value our foods are versus decades ago. So we have a problem on our hands, and we can't out supplement a bad diet. That's one thing I tell folks. I can't out supplement your bad diet. So if you're here just trying to get another pill, this isn't going to work in your favor. And so it really takes doing the hard work, and it takes doing it with consistency and not intensity. I help encourage my patients with that as well. We can't just expect to eat one great meal or work out once in a week and expect change to be afforded, right? So consistency with the habits.
Well, and you brought up something else, which is the lack of exercise. So many people have been stuck inside. Children aren't playing like we used to when I grew up. We were forced to go outside. We wanted to go outside. We didn't want to stay inside. So how big of a deal is the lack of movement, the lack of exercise?
Oh, huge. Movement is linked to such long-term improvements and longevity. It is extremely key. It's movement and nutrition all together. But one thing that often gets overlooked as well is sleep. Remember, we don't build muscle when we're working out. We actually break down muscle when we're working out. We build muscle when we sleep. And we want to make sure that we are getting that 8 to 9 hours of restful sleep so that our body can heal. It's when the body does all of its work. I always like to say it's so smart, it doesn't even have to have us to be participating. It says, lights out, let me do my job. And so we have to make sure we give the body what it needs, even when we're sleeping. So it's important to understand some aspects of physiology and sleep. This is some things that one thing comes to mind that my patients don't know, and this is a nice nugget, is that we make cholesterol when we sleep. And so when we're doing healthful support for cholesterols, some of those supplements and such, we want to make sure we take them before we go to bed. And that's so that we can interrupt those pathways during the working hours of the body, which is when we're asleep.
Carmen,
Yeah.
there's one supplement that I'd like you to address while you're on that topic, and that's omegas. Could you
Oh,
Could you
sure.
come at that and just describe because here's everybody out there in the population, not just the United States, but would counter argue and say, well, yeah, we know about nutrition. That's why they fortify food. All these foods that we're eating that they're in the supply chain. It's like nobody's farming, right? 95% of us get our food from a grocery outlet, and it's mostly all in packages and it's fortified. So what about that?
Yeah, and that unfortunately forced us down the standard American diet path even further by giving us more processed foods, and that really wasn't part of our even the bad food pyramid, right? So processed foods don't allow us to get enough of those vitamins and minerals that we need, and we need to source those from whole foods, not processed foods that come from a package. But omegas are extremely important. Omega 3s, 6s are the most common. There's many others, 9s, 11s. And so we want to just kind of review that the good guys in this equation are the omega 3s, but our standard American diet is extremely high in omega 6s. But that is pushing things down the inflammatory pathway. It's like just starting a fire in your body. And so good, rich sources of omega 3s, the most common thing to think about are fish, and we want to think about salmon. We don't want to intake high mercury containing fishes, such as tuna and swordfish. Those things can cause, we think we're doing good, but they can cause other problems in us if we don't quite have our detoxification pathways revving. But omega 3s are extremely important to prevent the oxidation of our cholesterols. Oxidation, just describe it like rusting, right? And we don't want those pathways to be rusted. We also want to support our nervous tissue. So cholesterols are at the basis of our nervous tissues. It's what makes the insulation, if you will, the myelin sheath around a nerve. It's what makes our brain tissue. And so we must have cholesterols, but we need to have the appropriate amount and the appropriate type and non-oxidized. So good sources of omega 3s. Of course, we have our omega support from Asea. For those who are brave, we have sardines is my new charge in the last month, my new habit of health. And just trying to get all aspects from whole foods that I can is my goal there.
So could you also go ahead, Ann?
Well, no, you brought up our omegas, and I like the way they're sourced, wild Alaskan cod. That's important how they get it. I like that the doctor that oversees it makes sure that, we have the top quality that synergetically works with redox signaling, and just obviously so many benefits to our particular omega, getting 100% absorption that you inevitably aren't getting in many of the things that are out there. And for someone who doesn't have a gallbladder, even more reason that they need the omega in their diet. And so I can't stress enough how good ours is, and that it's not one of those horse pill types that are typically at the synthetic type counters. And, people have a hard time swallowing these. You can actually, if you've never tried it, you can actually chew it. And of course, then the oils pop into the mouth. But it makes it so easy for maybe somebody older that doesn't want a pill form. They can literally chew that. So I can't stress enough how excellent our omega is compared to other stuff that's out there.
I would also add, I think it was described as the burpability factor. The burp factor on the Asea omegas is very low, and that is how you have a good quality omega. So if some of you out there are like, oh my goodness, all these fish oils, they make me have bad fishy burps, then you've gotten yourself a bad quality. And fish oils aren't cheap. So if you're going to buy it, make sure it's a good quality and that you take it with food so it can be absorbed. But yes, it's a wonderful quality.
Yeah.
So Carmen, can you speak to, you made a comment about detox just a moment ago. Can you, from your training perspective and how you approach functional medicine, can you describe what it means to detox? I think that, there's a lot of people out there that are, especially in, we'll call it the alternative, wings, talk about liver cleanses and using herbs and whatnot. So when we're speaking about redox and detox, how would you approach that?
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's kind of catchphrase, this whole detox and cleansing, but it all is umbrellaing the same thing. It really is pushing toward the liver, but we have to recognize there are about 6 detoxification pathways of the phase 2, where it conjugates and it then takes it out of the body, either in the urine or the feces. And so what we emphasize for the detox process, of course, is number one, super simple, is drink enough water. But we also have to put the good nutrients in ourselves. What we find, though, is when detoxification pathways are challenged or inefficient, we see that people develop symptoms. And then when we start testing, we see that people may have issues with things like chemicals. So holding on to chemicals that they may have been exposed to in the past. That list is huge. Mycotoxins, heavy metals. Detoxification inefficiencies can also affect your ability to detox away your estrogens or other hormones. It can affect your ability to just not be able to make or break down, in some instances, those neurotransmitters that we all need and love through methylation cycles. And so when we link that with redox, we have to go back to our beautiful gene study, where we see that there are many pathways, NRF2, et cetera, that are upregulated, which also afford the body the ability to create glutathione, which is the key master antioxidant of the body. And without that revving and in place, we cannot get rid of major toxins that then, going back to oxidation word, will oxidize our body, or think of it like rusting. If all of these detoxification pathways, I think of them and describe them to patients when I'm talking about this, I talk to them about it's like different colors of trash bags. So if you have 6 detox pathways, you have 6 different colors of trash bags sitting on your road. You only have 3 trash trucks that come by. So that means 50% of your trash won't be taken out. Times that by the number of years you are. And this is the magnitude of products that aren't carried out of your body that remain. And over time, that buildup leads to symptoms. And it takes a little bit of time to get those pathways revved back up and to start moving things out, bringing us to possible reactions once you start detoxifying, which you need to be prepared for. And before you start detoxifying, you want to make sure your gut's doing its job. The king detoxifier is the colon. So if you start a detox and you're constipated, that's not going to work out very well for you.
So is it possible to detox without redox being involved in some fashion?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not in my science brain. It's required, and it's an integral part. And over time, it becomes inefficient. But with the help of our Asea, we can rev that back up by supporting those pathways again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
pretty important.
we're talking about redox. Can you, Lee, real quick, give a disclaimer? And then Carmen, can you explain what these molecules are to me?
To new person.
To the new person. Lee, give us a disclaimer.
Yeah, it's important that we all understand that Asea Redox, the supplements that we have are supplements. They're not medications. They're not meant to treat, to diagnose, or to cure or resolve, healthcare issues like that. In that regard, they're supplements, and in that regard, we can't make those medical claims.
Yes.
Okay, Carmen, what are these things? What this company was started 13 years ago. with one technology, one massive breakthrough. What are they? Why is this such a big deal?
I love it. Hey, I can sum it up in one word. Are they miracles? For some people, maybe, but scientifically, they are real, real things. And so when we go back to what they are, you're going to read on this bottle. Jim, I want you to support your body with this, but first we're going to turn it around. You're going to see that it is salt and water, right? On the ingredients. And to make it even more fun, it's made in Salt Lake City. So now that that's out of the way, we do know that there's a process by which these redox molecules are made from just salt and water. And last I checked, we are taught to not put anything in our bodies that we can't pronounce, right? And so when we talk about Asea, we can't talk about it without also marveling in the fact of the 30 or so patents that salt water has on it to create these redox molecules, which in the signaling cascade of the body are important for communication. So these are made from the mitochondria, which are the mighty mitochondria from our mothers, and they serve to help our cells communicate. And in doing so, our body is receiving signals as if it were maybe a few years ago. We all have this disease called aging. And as we progress down that, our cells do not do their job efficiently. And so this affords us the opportunity to replace what our body naturally makes. I call it a bioreplenisher personally. That's what I refer to it as. And so as we put this in our body for, we have studies for a couple of months' time, it does affect our gene pathways, many of them for inflammation, for instance, for gut health, for vascular health, for stress responses, for hormones, and I think I said gut health. So any other questions?
Well, yeah, it says on the front of the bottle that's a dietary supplement. What's the deal with that?
Yep. So dietary supplements are not meant to treat, cure any disease, but we use it to bridge a gap. So we use this to bridge the gap between what your body is lacking and what your body is needing to put it back to that state where you want it to be, which is working as efficient as possible to help you feel better.
Oh, excellent.
Cool.
Lee, do you want to add to that? You look like you had a look of.
You're muted, Lee.
Lost ya.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. The whole point of
Sorry,
redox, for those new to this, the word redox is a contraction between the words reduction and oxidant, reductant and oxidant. And that's a basic definition of how electrons move from one molecule to the other. If you don't have that process going, we call that death. You die. This is about how oxygen is involved in the participation of the movement of those electrons. And it creates reactive molecules, and those reactive molecules that come from that saline, come from that environment of energy metabolism in the cell, are the responsible parties that do the communication that Dr. Keith has been talking about here. If that doesn't happen, then you cease to exist. It's like it's a basic tenet of life on Earth that electrons have to move. Somehow we've got to get the energy from the sun into our cells, and it's this process of capturing that through nutrition, and and utilizing it and creating energy and the byproducts that drive all the machinery of the cell. Carmen, I'd like to flip the nutrition argument back to you, because I'll bet you 95% of people, maybe even higher, when you talk about nutrition, and even largely with health professionals, when you say the word nutrition, you're thinking about phytochemicals, and you're thinking about nutrients and vitamins and cofactors and bioflavonoids and all those chemical things. But maybe you could kind of come back and talk about energy metabolism, talk about the energy substrate or source that we're that is the food, when we eat that food. Why is that a part of redox?
Well, I would say that it is the way that redox, it's kind of the yin and the yang. You can't have the redox without that part of the equation. You have to have substrates for the redox processes to work. And so that's right. When we talk about nutrition, what we're talking about is not just food, right? People mistake this. Oh, I eat. Oh, I eat. No, it's what you eat. It's the quality of you eat. It's the mindset of when you eat. How is your digestion? If we're not digesting, we can't break down that food into those nutrients that then are absorbed and then assimilated, right? It is when the assimilation happens that then the redox processes begin. And again, reduction oxidation, it happens everywhere, but none of this can happen without these particular molecules all along the pathway. But phytochemicals, where do you get those? It's really, if you just simplify it to eat the rainbow, that's where you're going to get all of your phytonutrients from. The more colorful you eat, the more vitamin-rich foods that your body has the opportunity to receive. However, the biggest chasm between your body receiving it and not is your digestion capacity. So that's where functional medicine comes in, is looking at your gut and big digestion. It's one of the top things that I help people with, is making sure that your digestion is adequate, because otherwise your machine won't get those small phytonutrients and chemicals to do the processes and to then start the redox process.
So Carmen, I really love that you have an expression, and I've borrowed it a lot. It's like, you don't want to be so open-minded that your brains fall out.
That's right.
You don't want to be so open-minded that your brains fall out. I heard Claire say that, and I'm like, that's now mine. But
take it.
I'm thinking about, this is a panel discussion every week, and we kind of contexted around the idea of medical health professionals validating and talking about the science and the health side of it. So what do you say to, or what would you have to say to fellow health professionals who are looking at this, many of whom are probably, listening to us right now? We don't want them to be so open-minded their brains fall out. I mean, there's some analytical necessity there. But I can tell you, I've done enough research to know that it stands the scrutiny. But what do you say to them to get them to open their minds at least just a little bit and look at this from another? You made the comment about, you're a quote unquote standard physician. That's not the word you used, a traditional physician.
Yeah.
But you have an added tool set because of your extra training. Could you just kind of go down that path a little bit? And how would you encourage a physician, health professional, dentist, chiropractor, who's pretty, I mean, we've invested heavily in our education, and sometimes we're so educated, we're not very informed.
Oh, that's good.
I like that one, Lee. You gotta put that in the next book.
That's good. Education does
write that one down, Lee.
Intelligence.
Wow. And they're close-minded, so yeah.
That's it. Well, I think that the common denominator between a lot of us health professionals that have opened our minds to considering these sorts of things lies in a personal experience that then an aspect of this type of medicine came in and then afforded a belief, and then that belief got solidified into, a way of life, really, right? So that's the progression of it. And I think there's a bit of humble pie that needs to be considered before us as physicians, understanding, we were given the opportunity to help others. We took an oath to help others. And as long as we practice, we need to be able to help those that nobody else can help. And that's what's in this space where I'm at now. I get
Mhm.
thanked all the time from docs who help, who say, thank you for helping them. I just didn't know what to do. And that really is the sympathy. That's what they're trying to tell you if they are rejecting you. It's not that, I don't know how to say this. It's the lack of knowledge, honestly. But how do you get someone to take the next step and learn about it? Is they have to have a moment of putting down their ego and putting down their pride and saying, I guess I'll read about it. But we also can't do that. I mean, I probably would. I don't know if I would have been moved. I was in the functional medicine space, so I would have. But previous to that, I might not have been moved based on just a single exposure with Asea. I would have had to have had that event to solidify the belief and then make it part of my life, which obviously is my dad's story. I also would say just be patient. Be patient with some of these aspects and recognize that the science is there. The other way to educate them is to refer them now to Dr. Lee's book,
Yeah.
which it has it all right there. The science is there. You cannot deny the science of redox. And as long as you remain, the hardest part of being the doc is to stay on the forefront edge of research and new things coming. And that in itself can be very overwhelming, in addition to just the day-to-day. And sometimes docs just don't want to hear it, quote, that day. It's not that they haven't heard you. It's that maybe that was just a bad day. So maybe that could help.
I heard about this. Actually, it's kind of funny. I was at Lowe's earlier and I saw the chiropractor that actually introduced it to my best friend whose son was going to die. And when I heard and saw what it did to my best friend's son, who we've had mom and dad on the show with you, when he brought this to my home, I didn't care what it was. I really didn't. I did not look at the label. I did not look at dietary supplement. I did not look that it was made from salt water. I trusted my friend. And I saw what it did to his child. And this gave me my life back. And if you don't mind, I know we've heard it before, but I know there's people that have not heard your story. But when you hear these stories, that is what's going to attract people, I believe, to what we are doing. That's why, frankly, we do this show every Friday night, is for other people to invite new people to come hear the stories. And then I also, at the end of that, Carmen, I want to talk about how would be your advice to talk to people about being proactive for their own health, so they don't have to go through a near-death experience to realize what they have, because there is a point in time when there's too much that's gone on in your body and your body may not be able to recover. So can you real quick, again, how you got introduced to the molecules and your amazing story?
Hey, may I say something before Carmen? I want everybody who's listening to this, as you listen to Carmen's story, to remember this. The person with an experience is never at the mercy of a person with an argument.
Amen. Say that again, Lee.
The person with an experience is never at the mercy of a person with an argument. And that's, I mean, we all have a personal experience. And when people come at us and tell us, oh, this doesn't work, and it's like, excuse me, maybe you're just one of those educated but uninformed people. So go ahead, Carmen.
Yeah.
Sure. So this entered my life from a colleague, Dr. Ann Ools, and she brought it in the gel. She brought the gel into my office, and she said that it had been helping her discomfort and that she just thought it could help some patients. And so I took some time and I researched it, and I understood that because it was a supplement, there's not going to be randomized placebo-controlled trials. I know that it's a supplement. But what I tried to find, because I had been researching many supplements before, was I need some science. I read the front of the bottle. I'm like, it's Redox. It's Redox. This is basic science, totally basic science. So now I needed to see who is behind the company. And so I knew the science was there. And honestly, I read the gene study. There were a couple of other websites at the time that I found information, but I just kept clicking one night until probably 2 a.m. One Tyler Norton YouTube after the next, led to the next. You know how you get going. And by the time I was done, I am sure that I was at some point in tears, just over flooded with just a feeling of how good these people were that own this company, their story of how they got it to the common people, and the story of what they could have done with it, could have sold it, chose not to the pharmaceutical industry. But for me, it was more that these are good people, good humans trying to do a good work for each other. Yes, the science was there, and that wasn't the hard part for me. So I decided that if it could help one person, that I would try it. So I ordered mine and I started taking it, and I started feeling improvements in my sleep quality and in my brain fog. So any of us that use our brain all day long, I mean, there's nobody out there that doesn't. We have brain fog, and we want to be clearer thinkers, no matter what you do. And I found that. And it wasn't probably a month later that my dad fell ill on February 20th, 2019. I got the phone call from my husband that nobody wants to get. Your dad's sick. Please come home as fast as you can. Bring your tools. And so I grabbed my stethoscope and my blood pressure cuff, and I went blazing back home. Ended up, this was just the first day of a 6-month-long illness that he had. And he had a very significant organ damage. And it turned out that toward the what was thought to be the end of the story, he was given a 10% chance of living. They worked with him. He defied all odds. You guys go back and watch his video. You'll see he's pretty ornery. And he fought till he couldn't fight anymore. And then the educated ones walked in and said that there's nothing else that they could do. There was 10% chance of him making it. My mom calls and says, well, what do you know? And I said, well, you've got the same blue bottle that I do. That's all I have. What do you think? And she was like, well, I feel better. I've been taking it for 2 weeks. And she did feel better. She was sharper. She was answering. I called her Nurse Mary. Nurse Mary was getting Dr. Carmen all the answers without me even having to remind her in the day from the docs. And so I said, well, it looks like water. So you could just take it into his room. And so this was back in the days when we could be with our families in the hospitals. I think we're getting better on that now. And so she did. And at the time, my dad had a feeding tube in his nose. He had been out of ICU. This was the 3rd time. He had been out for 10 days. He did not know who he was, where he was, or who we were. He was just sitting in the hospital chair. And so Mom started just putting it in his mouth on a swab. And the important thing to know is that Asea is absorbed in the mouth. And so what a great place to start. What a great place to start in the mouth. Dental, it's very highly linked to the rest of our body, as Dr. Lee will tell you. And so a few days later, it was about a week, he started eating, and they did not believe it. My mom told him on rounds he ate 3 meals today. The first day he tried to eat, he ate 3 meals. That was the first time he had eaten in probably, I would imagine, 6 weeks. And the little residents kept coming in asking, are you sure? Are you sure? And Mom was like, Carmen, why do these little residents keep asking me if he's vomited or if he's nauseous? He's not. I said, well, because he's supposed to be. Remember what we've just been through. And so he never got sick. He just kept perking up, perking up. She kept saying, how much do I give? I said, I don't know. Just keep rubbing and keep drinking. More, more. Rub more, drink more. It's working. We put it on we use the gel all over his body, on his spine. I have no idea, and she doesn't either, frankly, how much he was drinking a day. But the day came when he got to try to qualify for inpatient rehab. He had already qualified for outpatient facility nursing care. But of course, we wanted him to be able to go to inpatient so he could go home. And a nice physical therapist who came to love him during his admission came in and just said, hey, Gary, it's time. We got to go walk. You got to walk unassisted to qualify. And so she said 200 feet. And of course, Gary Golden, being who he is, he walked unassisted 250 feet. That was in June. He had not done that since February before he got sick. The story continues that he went through rehab and he walked into the house just a short 4 weeks later. He is alive and well today, 75 years old. I would just say go back and listen to his story come from his mouth. He doesn't remember anything of it. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing we all came to understand. But without Asea, of course, he would not be here. We give credit, of course, to our creator, but Asea came in my life's trajectory at the perfect moment, maybe not to help me, but for sure to help my dad, and now countless people, from my patients to friends and other family members. I also want to put a caveat on this story that Dad's story is extremely rare in that it happened quickly. And so I don't want to mislead or have folks have kind of unrealistic expectations, because understand this is just a story that was incredible. There's many out there, but they don't all go this fast. And so I don't want you to get discouraged. I want you to keep on keeping on. The second part of your question was kind of what can we do to not get into that spot.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, being proactive.
Desperate point.
And being proactive. And Dad, he was not too healthy. Had a rap sheet on his health, but now he's much better post. Right? How many lives are we gonna be given before we get it together? Right? And so, what I find is that it usually takes some people not necessarily a big diagnosis, but you put a little bit of a bad lab panel with family history, and people really perk up. So it's not just recognizing what your labs and biomarkers are showing, but it's what those plus your genetics have the potential to do. While we're not our genes, right? We do have the ability to turn the genes on and off to afford health or not. And so what I would say is be as proactive for yourself as you would for somebody else you love. I think that's really the struggle I see with most people, is they'll do anything in the world for somebody else, but when it comes to themselves, they kind of put themselves on the back burner. And I work hard every day to help people understand their worth and to help them understand they are worth their health. And that I don't want you to get to the point where, the time to call the fire department is not when the house is burnt down, right? I mean, we want to recognize that we all have this disease called aging. I say it 1,000 times a day. We have this disease called aging, and that's going to look different on all of us. We all have different genes, but the earlier you can start getting educated. So now here's another phrase for you, Lee. I believe that that being ignorant is a choice.
Yeah.
And the struggle we have these days is not to listen to things that are coming our way. The struggle we have these days is to not to listen to things coming our way if we want to find some peace, right? But in that is the opportunity to become educated and information rich. And it's the information rich patients that come in going, okay, here's what I've done. Here's what I know about me. Here's my story of my health. Here's my story of my family history. Here's what I have. Here's what I've learned from a podcast or this or that. These are my questions. And what do you think? I also find that there's a, the generational kind of breaks and lines are a real thing. And the younger generations are coming in much sooner, concerned about, a low vitamin D or something. Whereas some folks coming in later, when we have a few things to be working on, they all say, I wish I would have gotten started earlier. I sure wish I would have gotten started earlier. And so while we don't have the ability to necessarily turn back the clock, we have the ability to be educated. We have the ability to take science like Redox and use it as it was intended to years ago in our body. Just replenish that, just like you're putting gas in your car tank to go down the road. Daily dose of Redox to keep you moving and keep you going. But I think it's all about urgency and recognizing your worth. And while, I never tell people, listen, I'm not trying to make you live forever. I sure would like you to be happy and feel good while you're on this earth, right? That's our goal.
Amen.
Yeah, you definitely want to, and this story gives hope to people that you can seek optimal health, and at least whatever amount of time you're on earth, make it the most fruitful, healthy living as you can. That's why the Healthy Matters book is great, because it gives practical ways to live a healthier life. But, we talked about the gene study and serotonin and, mind health, the mitochondrial functioning again, having more, a better mood. So this is a good segue, because we don't have a lot of time, is now we're able to have the whole line, including powered by Redox products. So I know some people are wondering what's coming out new, and it's coming out Tuesday. But our powered by Redox products, we've got them right here. Jim's got them behind him. He can grab them. It's in here, but it's also show the packages. We're able to now have a product Alan calls enhancing cell performance. So of course, this yellow one is for energy. How many people lack that? And then they go grab that synthetic stuff that many times, if you check the ingredients, aren't so healthy. And then we've got mind. And I know we all know someone that wants to have a more, cognitive abilities. They want to be sharp. So we've got now the cell performance mind. And you just take these and you put them in your 8-10 ounces of fresh, clean water, and you just shake it up. I know Lee's got a container there, and you shake up that water bottle, and there you go. And we learned all this in Vegas and got to sample it. And then the last one is for mood. So you mentioned sleep. You would be shocked having this about this hour, within the range of whatever amount of time you're going to bed, how much more relaxed and calm, bring the brain down, calm it. And then you'll have such a deeper sleep. And so at the store, the guy explained it really easy that
the Asea store.
Right. The Asea store at Vegas. He talked about, well, this is signaling your cells, but this is targeting those pathways. The mind, again, the energy, mitochondria functioning again, and then the mood. And we all know someone that needs better sleep, better mood, calmer. It's just so exciting to have this, and then to have the exciting new skincare. We don't have time. We'll do that next week on skincare, but those ingredients are powered by Redox too. And we've got all sorts of videos and info that people can learn, but I'm just so excited how this fills in the gaps during the day. You have this twice a day. Some people have it 3 or 4 times a day. They're shot, but then you have this to target those specific areas. It's so exciting and to teach people.
So Carmen, you weren't able to come to convention. But you got some samples. Correct? What was your experience with? What was your experience?
I was sad when I ran out. I cannot wait till Tuesday.
We all were like that.
I was, man, those few days, I was so just alert and awake, and it just took it to another level of performance. For me, it's brain. I mean, I'm not talking about athletic. I mean, of course I could work out better, but for me, it was the brain was on. There was no afternoon slump. The sleep was just really at another level. And I just was like, wow, I can't imagine how I'm going to be with these regularly. The energy one, so 6 hours of sustained energy, non-stimulant. Wow, that's going to replace a lot of caffeine for people, and it should. The mood one, yes, for the sleep, and also for, just the improvement of the parasympathetic response in our bodies that we all need as driven Americans.
Yes.
But the mind one, that one,
yeah,
that's my favorite.
Lit the candle.
Yeah. That is so true. And with the energy, no jitters, no crash, like all these synthetic.
Yeah. And
it's just exciting.
And Alan Noble mentioned on stage in Vegas, who's dealing with fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, and overwhelmingness.
Yeah.
That just being, Carmen, with what's happened the last 2 years, it is mind-boggling how many people are under so much more stress. And they're looking for a solution. So we really want to try to keep things simple and share now what we have. But this is the basis for all health, right? And so these just help facilitate what we're putting. So even people that aren't taking Asea, they're still going to get a benefit with these packets, right?
Oh,
Lee?
yeah, absolutely.
And Carmen, yeah.
Go ahead.
But if you're on Asea, you're going to get more of an impact, right? Is that fair to say, Lee?
Well, it's true because they're synergistic, and they all play synergistically on the redox landscape.
Okay, explain that. You're talking doctor talk.
Well, no, synergy is how things work together. 1 + 1 is 3, or one item facilitates the action of another item.
Okay.
And they work together in a concert, in a choreography, because that's the way the cells are designed. That's the beauty of this foundation layer of redox signaling that primes the redox landscape, which is all of the redox reactions throughout all the cells. And then we bring these wonderful products on board, and they synergistically support each other. And they were strategically designed. I mean, they spent like 45 minutes in convention going through the thinking process, the analyzing process of how they selected these specific things. I mean, I have been a part of designs, of teams for making nutritional supplements, and I kind of know the thinking that goes there, and I know the marketing side of it as well. And sometimes they're just thrown together, and because they can, and they really did a great job in selecting the specific things that work the most synergistically. And it's not always about dosage. I mean, we have this idea of like, if a little is good, a lot is better. And it's like, that's not how this redox environment works, because this will be the discussion for another day. But the scientific principle of hormesis is a dose related thing, but it's too much can be too much, and too little can be too little. there has to be this Goldilocks place that's just right. We call that the hormetic zone. And that's a part of this redox landscape. In my, again, you know, if you've got an argument, you can't really take on people with experiences. And an hour prior to when I spoke, I was, before I went up on stage to speak about and to give kind of the science basis for cell performance, I'm just as dull as I can be. I'm signing books out in the hall, and I'm not even thinking. And it's like, I need to take some mind. That's, you know, I don't have problems usually with energy. I can't really say that for me, that the energy thing has ramped me up or amped me up or anything like that. But the mind just sharpened, you know, it was just sharp. Yeah. It was amazing. So I'm with Carmen. It's like, you know, for me, it's all about the brain. For those of us who might be a little intense up here, maybe we need to take the mood just to kind of quiet it down. I don't know.
At the end of the night.
At the end of the day.
After this show, it's a good idea. And it's a great go-to for people that may not ever even consider, even though they should, redox signaling. You can approach people, you know, that maybe one of these three things is what they're lacking. Cognitive, their mood, you know, the things they're going through, what they're popping end of the night, what they're popping in the middle of the day. I mean, here, this can open up a discussion and eventually lead them to this, but maybe all they'll try is this for a month. What? So it's so wonderful that they brought this out. And like Lee said, they really thought through the criteria of what they put in here. Yeah. I mean, these ingredients, as a nutritionist, these ingredients are exceptional and, again, natural, and they taste good. I mean, who wouldn't want something that tastes good, right?
So I've made herbal tinctures, you know, with my wife's history for many years. I've been into herbs, and again, that's kind of part. You can go online and find herbs that are good for this or that or the other, and how you combine them, and how you steep them and tincture them, and I'll extract them. This was really, really well thought out. I'm totally impressed.
Yeah. And that's what you're describing. Time consuming.
No, I was just going to say, I see three more avenues of hope there, right? So it may be that you may be more comfortable starting with one or two of those avenues while working toward the redox.
Yes. So exciting. Well, Jim was are you gonna play this?
Well, I've got to play this video. I'm pulling it up real quick.
It's a great, cute way to.
It is, and I got permission from the mom and the dad, and actually Rose Monday, who was the past USA Olympic coach. Okay, I'm getting him keyed up. Okay, so this is being done for anybody that doesn't like the taste of Asea. Now, that's what's really cool about this is it tastes good. But have you ever had anybody, Carmen, that, oh my God, I can't drink that stuff?
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Lee, have you ever had that?
Sure. Yep. They're toxic.
Okay. So,
they're toxic.
Okay. Well, okay, I might be a little bit crude here, but my mom and dad sometimes made me drink stuff as a kid that was horrible.
I'm sure we all did.
I just kind of say, suck it up, Buttercup, and just choke it down. But now, here, I'm going to play a real short video clip.
Cutie.
It's adorable. So I'm sharing my screen, and here we go. Okay, this is a child. Okay, here we go.
I'm next. You want who's first? You first? Okay. Are you ready for your Asea? Here you go.
Oh. There you go. Look at that.
Yummy.
Oh. Give me more.
Oh.
Okay, that's number one. Number two is here.
What do you want? A little bit more. You want a little bit more, Asea? Oh, you want some more too? Okay. Here you go. A little bit more. There you go.
Oh.
Isn't that absolutely adorable?
Yeah.
So sweet.
Non-toxic safe.
So don't tell me that it tastes bad. Just if your body's in homeostasis, right, Carmen, then it may taste icky in the beginning, but that typically means that you're lacking. Real quick, Carmen, can anything bad happen to anybody that drinks this?
Well, because it's naturally produced in our body. No, there's no, it
now,
can't,
do you
it
say
can't
natural
hurt.
or natively produced?
Oh,
Because
man.
I use native.
I use both.
Okay. But
It exists, so you're used to it.
okay, so you can't be allergic to you, correct?
Good point.
Okay, so we're at the end, and I just want to
Hey, Jim, let me add one more thought there, because
No.
that's a science statement.
no. What?
It is scientifically impossible for it not to work
That's right.
when you
It's
think
impossible
about that.
Say that
It's
again.
impossible not to work.
It's scientifically impossible for it not to work.
Right.
Oh,
You know this- if
isn't
you know
that amazing?
science, you understand that.
Okay, Ann's trying to ask me to get something. I can't. I don't know what the heck she's asking.
To next week.
Oh, yeah, we have another guest. But you know, where I was 7 years ago, guys, I had no hope. My back was jacked up. I was addicted to pain pills. I was taking 500 pills a month. And we didn't have a business opportunity until this came along, which we haven't really talked about in a while. But when my best friend came over to my home, and I've had 10 lower back surgeries, I was addicted to pain pills. I've had 6 levels fused in my lower back. I've got a stimulator in my back. I'd gained a lot of weight because I couldn't exercise because my leg hurt from pins and needles in my left leg. So I was desperate, but I didn't know it. I didn't know how bad off I was until my friend came and did the most loving act on the planet and shared this with me. And after I saw what it did to his kid, like I said earlier, I don't care what was in it. But in such a short period of time, the brain fog, the fatigue, my anxiety, and being overwhelmed, this did that for me. Now we have the added bonus of doing the cell performance. So guys, we do this show as a pay it forward for you to invite people to come see what we talk about. It's always better when we let Dr. Carmen Keith, who's absolutely amazing, because she's been really swamped lately, right, Doc?
Yeah.
You've been overwhelmed.
A good swamp.
Well, and she wasn't able to go to conference, but yet she'll come here and do this with us, and we really appreciate it. So share this with other people. We will be back next Friday. Ann's going to mention our guest, who I cannot pronounce her name.
Because we're so excited about the skincare, the cleanser, toner, the serum, and the hydrating cream. There's videos out there already on Facebook United and Healthy Self. You know, we've got clips from the conference that you can learn more. So all of this will be available on Tuesday, but we're excited that the ingredients are powered by Redox. They're gluten-free. The ingredients are just incredible. We had a skincare expert last night on Alan's show. You can find that recording, but we're going to focus on skin next Friday. And we have a doctor from Spain who got familiar with Asea because of the skincare. The whole reason why she pursued Asea, she's Romanian, but lives in Spain. So I approached her. She's younger, and I just thought she'd be perfect post-convention, talking about the new product. And the way, I can't swear that I'm saying the name correct, but Lavinia Mahala, and she'll correct me next week.
She's watching the show right
Yeah,
now.
I'm sure she is, but I'm excited that she's going to be a part of our show next Friday, 8:00, same channel, same everything.
So
But come back and learn more about
and
this. It's thrilling.
And something, Carmen, that you mentioned early on is that you went to a website, and I'm going to challenge you. If we have piqued your interest, I'm going to suggest you go to amazingmolecules.com. Amazingmolecules.com. And you're going to, if you want to get lost and stay up till 2:00 or longer, there's so much information there. And then if you want to watch the video on the skincare, again, Alan Noble did a show last night. That is on Discover Asea. discoverasea.net. Discoverasea.net. Oh, I didn't open up the chat. Let me do that real quick so we can give folks a chance to say howdy or bye or whatever. So, Carmen, thank you as always.
Fabulous.
You're
Tell
so welcome.
Tell your pop that we said howdy.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week. I sure will.
Good for you. That'd be a nice.
Lee, anything you want to say?
Yeah, we'll have a recording of Dr. Carmen Keith's interview here up in about 2 hours at redoxmatters.com. There's a video section in there. And we really appreciate, Carmen, you being with us and sharing your wonderful spirit and your expertise.
Well, thanks, you guys. Anytime.
Yeah.
Well, we all have a story, and we just love it that you're so willing to come on and share. And you're right. That's something I do want to, because so many people get on the molecules, Carmen, and 90% see results in 90 days. But I always kind of go, I'm an ex-financial advisor. I go, yeah, what about the 10%? So can you just touch on that real quick, since there's not a show after us? Is it, I mean, Lee, you already really pretty much said it, but the stuff has to work. You may not feel it. I say after 90 days, if you've taken it correctly, stop. And you'll know in a short period of time, a day or two, that it was working. But any other thoughts on that, Carmen?
I think that's a great method. I call that a supplement holiday. You don't really recognize how much you improve, and you don't really realize how sick you were until you get better. That's why that card that's inside of all of those shipments is important, for you to take an objective measurement of those symptoms that are listed there. But I kind of go back and forth. It depends. It depends what their struggles are. Meaning, if they get to the 90 days, I might say go up. Now's the time to go up to 3 times a day. Or I might say, yeah, go ahead and stop that to prove it to yourself that it probably was doing you some good.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great.
Someone just asked the question real quick. Can you mix cell performance with redox? No, you cannot mix anything with redox. Now, you can mix the cell performance with other things, but you cannot mix it with redox. Nothing is mixed with redox.
And don't mix it with like a soda. Yuck.
Ugh.
And just so you know, these are stevia flavored. So the sweetener is stevia.
And
so that's good.
Yeah, and don't forget to be drinking water. Carmen, can you touch on that real quick? That they need to be drinking sippers of water.
Half your body weight in ounces. Clean water. Clean filtered water. Half your body weight in ounces is your goal.
And when should you stop? You shouldn't drink it all after 7 o'clock at night, right?
Right, unless you want to have your bladder be your alarm clock.
So should you stop drinking the water like at 6 or 7, a couple of hours before you go? I mean, you can still hydrate some, but you don't need to.
Right. I say drink the majority of it before. Usually I'll say try to drink it before 4, knowing that people will carry it on to 6. And then just do your evening meal and sips of water.
Yeah. Okay. Lee, anything else?
No, I'm very pleased that we've had a great conversation, and we were well supported.
I love it.
Pass the video around and enjoy.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Love
Carmen.
it.
Enjoy
You're
your time
welcome.
with Dad. Have fun
Thank
next weekend.
you.